Hey, welcome to the Dental Strategy Studio. Today, we're interviewing Dr. Winsome Henry Ward. I've been working with her for a number of years to help grow and market her practice, and recently she made a successful exit.
Yay.
Yay! All right. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about what it took on your journey to grow your practice, start, and then eventually make that successful exit, which is what a lot of people are going for.
Okay.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what started you on your journey. Where did you begin to decide that you wanted to be a dentist and get started on this path?
Oh, well. That was like a childhood dream, basically. I decided at a very young age I wanted to be a dentist. And my studies kind of started in Chicago, went to Arizona for further study, and then ended up in St. Louis through a scholarship for dental school
Okay.
and decided to stay here. We like the area. So I initially wanted nice weather, kind of that was sort of the thing, and
Okay.
kind of fell into associateships along the way. I left college with a dental hygiene degree and met a dentist that I worked with in the dental school. And that was my first associateship. And through associateships, realized that I didn't want to associate. I wanted to be my own boss,
Okay.
which was kinda why I went into dentistry because I was an independent little kid and I didn't want anybody telling me what to do. So, seemed like a good fit to, just be the one running the show.
Yeah, absolutely. That is I hear that from dentists sometimes. That they want to be their own boss. They want to run that show. That's what
Yeah,
they're wanting to do. And what was your practice like when we first started working together?
it was a disaster.
Okay.
Well, if I could make a little bit of a picture for you,
Mm,
it wasn't like a complete disaster, but a relationship disaster. I had infighting occurring between staff, production was low, it was frustrating for me, and I really wanted to grow the practice, and I just moved it to a new location, and so the need for things to improve on the production and finance end was very, very strong. But this little staff snafu was interfering.
okay.
Mhm.
Um, sounds challenging.
Quite.
Okay. Um, Tell me a bit about what were those financial challenges like that you were facing at that time? Like what was going on there?
So there wasn't enough production. There wasn't enough new patients, and we weren't like the marketing that we were doing,
Mhm.
which wasn't a lot,
Mhm.
wasn't effectively bringing in patients. And I
Mhm.
had over the course of several years done various practice management groups coming in and out. Nothing had really provided that boost that was promised.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, do this and you'll triple or double or whatever. And it never materialized in the way that I wished it would. And also, it was a bit of a challenge to get the staff to really cooperate. And I'm sure the infighting didn't help. So,
Yeah, getting staff buy-in is an important part of that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what role did marketing play in resolving that issue?
Well, first of all, it became less of a dribble and more inflow.
Mhm.
We had patients calling, we had patients referring other patients. We had this wealth of new patients that we did not have before. So much so that if you're getting dribbles, then you feel you have to keep everybody, right? If the marketing is productive enough that you have many patients, then you're not so grabby, you're not so much holding on to anything that comes in the door,
Mm.
and it frees you up a bit because there isn't this anxiety about where's my next new patient coming from. And even though you it seems like in dental school they don't really teach you about that aspect of things, right? They don't teach you how to market your practice. They don't teach you how to manage your practice, at least not when I went to school. And so if you have that um anxiety about your next patient who is going to pay for service and be part of what you need for that month's overhead and staff pay and your pay, etc., is a great deal of relief.
Mhm.
You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Um, and you mentioned that in response to some of the issues you're having internally in the practice. Did that have an impact also on that side of
hmm
things?
Well, honestly, it did, but we did have to clean that situation up
Okay.
first. Okay. So we did get rid of some of that interbulating influence.
Mhm.
The upsets went away. We got people who were willing to work together and play the game. And at that time, the impetus to handle that actually also came along with part of the marketing. It wasn't just like, "Hey, I'll do this marketing and you got to figure out your staff." It was like, "I'll help you. Let's figure this out because I know that I can get this product for you, but here's what I need internally in order to make it stick." Because who's answering the phone? What are they saying to patients when they're with them and you're not sitting right beside them? How is it being managed? What did the patient see in terms of how people are interacting with each other? Those are important parts that help the marketing actually be more effective because you can shove people in the door, but if the staff and the environment are not keeping them there, then that's not good either.
100%.
Mhm.
Absolutely not good. You work a lot on getting the new patients calling into the office, but now when the receptionist is there, you know, chewing gum, answering the phone, and
Yelling at our
yelling at her
coworker.
coworker, that's not exactly the image you want to portray on your first contact with that new potential patient there.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Was there a specific turning point in your practice where you saw things, you kind of painted a picture of what it was like before you really got your marketing engine rolling, and
Mhm.
then, we're sitting here because you had a successful exit. Was there a spot or a time period where you felt there was a turning point there, or you hit some point where it was rough and it started to kind of go up and what it started feeling like there?
So I am not the best tracker of time frames like
Okay.
that, okay? But I do know that there were years where things just kept getting better and better. I mean, if I looked at the statistics that show my production, collections, new patients, everything was just trending upwards year to year to year because at certain points too we added more features to the
Mm.
marketing. We started off with very basic, and I came from a background of postcards and new neighbor promotions, and that sort of thing was cost a lot of money but did not give the same return on investments at all. And we moved more into the digital age of promotion. So, at that point, like even very early on after we got rid of the interbulating influence, we started to see an immediate uptrend in things. And we also were able then to do a lot more with our staff because, of course, with better income and better production, we were able to hire more people and put people in place who could take the various roles in the office into a higher level and control more what was happening in the office. So that was 2013 was when we started the marketing, and from there on forward, if we look at the graphs, it's just up, 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 up. And I think where I felt like, oh, this is great, I don't have to worry so much, was probably like 2020, somewhere in that range. Even like we entered into the COVID period, which is its whole story.
Yes.
All its own. But prior to that, we were still doing well and survived that without much of a downtrend in our statistics at all, really. And I don't think a lot of dentists can say that. I know there was a big slump in dental practices that could survive that and continue to work, and we survived it and kept going upward. So
Great job.
thanks.
Yeah. And what would you say to a dentist that was in their practice, kind of running into some of those struggles that you were running into and was not feeling sure or was a little bit uncertain about should I get into marketing? Should I pull the trigger on this? Should I start doing this? What would you say to a dentist that was kind of unsure about what to do there?
Well, we're recording, so I can't use the terms that I want to use, but I'd say you're an idiot if you don't do marketing. You have to promote, it's kind of crazy not to do that, especially in today's environment. We don't I feel like we have less dentists than we did in the past, and so the competition level might not seem as bad, but you do need to keep growing. You can't survive just on treating the patients that you have in the practice. You have to have a regular inflow. And if you're feeling stressed at all, then that's the first place to look is what do I need to fix in my marketing to get this practice producing at a level that's going to deliver what I need as a dentist and what the practice needs in order to cover its overhead and staff and continue to grow. You can't be stagnant. If you don't do something about it, it's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
um, was there ever a time that on this journey, you were kinda thinking like, "I don't know, is this gonna work?" Was there a time where sometimes I run into people where they kinda run into something they call imposter syndrome, where they're wondering like, "Is this am I really good at this? Is this really gonna work out?" Was there ever any time in your practice where you were running into something like that, and what got you through it?
So there are always times like that, I
Mhm.
think. Um, Especially early on. When I bought the practice, that was a is this gonna work period. you know, you take over from another dentist, you're learning the patients, you have a staff that you didn't hire, and it's kind of like, "Ugh, am I gonna make it?" Um, that's a learning curve that some management programs can help you overcome, but you have to realize that that self-doubt that crops up is not really you. It's not the positive drive that made you decide to go to dental school and open your practice. So there are periods like that. There are life issues that might crop up that make you less certain this is what you want to do. Like, I lost a family member at that point. So if you run into issues of emotional upset and upheavals, that can affect your outlook on the practice. And you just have to keep your eyes on the prize, so to speak, like stay focused, have that intention that you are a good dentist, you have this drive to succeed, and then just utilize the auxiliary services that are there to help propel you forward. And that's what I would recommend because I did have those. I had them early on, I had them in the middle of my journey, I had them at the end of my journey when I was looking at getting out. I'm like, oh my God, is this really what I want to do right now? It might not be the right thing, but you know, you have to, like, just put that noise aside, kinda deaden it, and then do what you need to do to keep going.
That's awesome. Some great
Thanks.
advice.
Thanks.
Um, you were always willing to invest in your brand and your practice and improving the patient experience, and you did a lot of work on the practice,
Mhm.
right? Why do you think that was so important? Why was that something that you were willing to invest in like that?
Because it got me the product that I wanted, which was a successful practice. And it's interesting, because I had an idea of what my practice should look like or what it looked like. And it actually took someone with the marketing experience to go, well, actually, when we look at the stats, when we look at the what do you call it? Demographics of your practice, this is what we're seeing, you know? I never crunch the numbers. I'm just like, well, my practice is blah, blah, blah. And then you have someone come in and analyze it for you, and they're like, well, actually, here's what we're seeing. This is what we recommend you promote. You know, like surveys were used to find out, like, why do these patients come to see me? What zip codes are they from? Where are they from? Like, all of that played a part in getting specific marketing in place, and that was, I think, the biggest key. The marketing was specific for my practice and help promote my brand because I was aiming for a particular thing without knowledge of what was really working, what was being the thing that was driving patients into me. And when we found that and then marketed towards that, then it was like instant success.
Awesome. And if someone's listening that's at an early phase in their practice,
hmm
right? Um, if you could talk to yourself 2 years into practice ownership, 1 year into practice ownership, really early in the journey, if you could talk to yourself at that time, what advice would you give yourself?
I would say market more
Okay.
and make it consistent. Like, don't stop. 2 years into my journey, I was like, try a little bit of this. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, let me just like do something internal and then do something. It's not working. I better do something else. So it's like, it's very slow. It's very compromising in terms of, you spend money, you don't get a return. And uh the marketing system that you use, it's tracked. It's I can see statistics. I can see progress. I can actually know what's working. And there was this aspect of it which was like I can turn it on and off, you know? Like,
Mm.
"Hey, can you slow down a little bit?" Which, you don't think about that in marketing, but it was like sometimes it was too many patients at once, and they're like you might sit out there and go as a dentist, "Oh, that's not possible," but it actually is, Like, if we were going on vacation, we would turn off the marketing. If we had a situation where hygienist was out or something, we could like slow down the inflow a little bit. It's like turning a dial is how I would describe it. Like you
Mhm.
want the volume up more, turn the dial. You want the volume down, you turn the dial. And so not only was it customized for what we wanted for patient interaction, but it was customized for what was happening in the practice at the time. So
But
that's what I would say. If you're just starting out, market, market, market. That should be a big part of your budget. It should be in your budget. If you want like to ramp it up and be successful, just start marketing right away. Don't wait to see how it goes for 6 months or a year before you do that because you one thing that they did teach us in this dental school is the biggest thing you can lose is a production you didn't have. So,
could you say that again and tell me a little bit more about that? They taught you in dental school. Wh-
yeah, the biggest loss to a practice is what you don't produce,
Mm,
right? So, if you waste time not doing marketing, getting new patients, and actually building your production, that's a bigger loss than waiting 6 months till I've saved enough money to market
wow.
because you have 6 months of lost production.
Mm, that's a powerful idea there.
Yeah,
Okay, that's really useful.
good. Don't forget it.
Okay. Now, in your opinion, what differentiates a practice that's growing versus a practice that plateaus?
Differentiates them. Well, the plateaued practice, I imagine, is just stopped creating. They've stopped thinking of where do I go from here? What do I need to fix? And who do I need to fix? They're not investing in the things that would help the practice continue to grow. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's like the vision has stagnated.
Mm.
And which is an important point because the vision needs to keep changing because the times change around you. So, for instance, if I had kept the vision of when I started the practice and I was still trying to do postcard marketing and, just internal referrals with nothing on social media and nothing electronic in terms of reaching out to more and more people in a further field, then I think that would have stagnated me. So, I would say that the practice that continues to expand continues to um, put the feelers out and analyze and adapt.
That's incredible. I really like that idea that the vision keeps changing.
hmm
Tell me how your vision changed.
Well, it went different ways. Initially it was like I was just going to be this single dentist who, had a comfortable practice that I could run, no interference from others, to, oh, well, let's see. Let's get a hygienist because I bought the practice, didn't have a hygienist, So it was like, how do I incorporate hygienist into this? How do I utilize the hygienist? Because I had a hygiene background, I felt it was important to include that. I also had a really strong desire to do only aesthetic dentistry.
Mm.
And that came and went. Um, I didn't focus on that as much as the regular bread and butter dentistry. Um, and it was fun, and I did the little aesthetics here and there, but I didn't focus on aesthetics only. I found that patients are very family oriented, once they experience my level of care, they wanted their family there too. So it was like we were getting families. So it was not a just a garden variety, let's bleach your teeth, let's do veneers, blah, blah, blah. It was like, I have a kid, my grandmother needs a dentist,
Mm.
bringing in the entire family. And so we marketed to that because that was being successful. So the vision changed from doing the aesthetics to like treating families. And then as I practiced more and more, I got, the reputation of being the gentle dentist. So that kind of spread. And I started getting more people who wanted to be in an environment where they knew that they were going to be comfortable, they're not going to be hurt. And so then that was another level of change that occurred. And that was like the final level that we kept expanding on.
Yeah, finding that brand or that voice can be really powerful to find
hmm
what differentiates you
Exactly.
from others. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. And tell me about the spot where there's a shift that goes from I'm starting a new practice. And we've kind of talked about that where you're just starting out and you kind of have some ideas and you go into growth mode and you're growing your practice. Um, and tell me about the spot where it shifts to now it's time to successfully exit. What can we tell me about that? How did you come to that decision? You know what I mean?
hmm
How did that come up?
Okay. Well, I'm pretty driven production wise. And, I didn't just work in the dental practice, I did some work outside of it as well. And it was getting to that point because of my stage in life where I wanted to have a bit more freedom
Hmm.
with what I did with my time. And so I looked at what would I enjoy doing at this point, you
Hmm.
know? And after a while, like I said, there are things earlier I talked about how the emotional burdens related with practice is like there's a lot of stress for dentists because you're dealing with so many personalities and situations. And I'm like, well, at this point in my life, I want to have less of that. And I also had this idea that I would retain the practice and bring associates on and still own the practice and then retire from it and still maintain it as a source of income. But I decided against that because I didn't want that continued need to have my fingers on the reins and oversee things. And I did have associates on and off, and some were great. An older dentist might understand or have experienced it. Some are not so great. And I didn't want that constant possibility of being pulled back in chairside because someone had to be replaced or someone was out because they're ill. I just wanted to have that freedom to do what I want to do, something that I would enjoy. And then I had a grandkid, and I'm like, oh, I want to see this little guy grow up, you
Hmm.
know? So it's those life choices became more possible with making that shift. And so I started to move in that direction rather than the idea of continuing to be in a situation where I owned the practice and it was my responsibility regardless of what else happened.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because there's a spot when you're in that situation where you're retaining ownership and you got associates. I mean, you're one phone call away until you're back in the chair.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. And um, that sounds awesome. That's great.
Thanks.
I'm glad you were able to achieve that goal, and I'm glad that we were able to help you achieve that goal. And just from your perspective, could you tell me a little bit about how um, you feel like working with our marketing agency helped you to do that exit?
Um, well, that's the exit actually was successful because everything leading up to it was successful, right? Like not only did we have all of the statistics showing what the growth had been like over time, but we had the social media platforms that we already had worked over and were successful. We had the like the Facebook and all of these other things. It was all set up. And those were an important transition tool for the new dentist as well. So I don't think that if I had just been, comparatively speaking, I know it was 20 something years maybe when I bought the practice.
Hmm.
um, if I was like the dentist I had bought the practice from, where, he was doing any marketing, he was just like allowing his practice to deteriorate financially over time. Mine wasn't like that. It was growing, it was successful, so it set up a very high benchmark, and I had the proof of what it was able to do in every aspect of how the practice was being run. And that's because I had that platform of marketing and I had the evidences related to it. And so it actually helped quite a bit in terms of going, no, this practice is actually worth what we're saying. This is not some pie in the sky number we made up.
Yeah, that sounds very powerful for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for sharing your insights and your years of experience and knowledge, and I think that this is going to be very helpful for someone listening who's maybe in a situation like this where they're kind of wondering what should I do next, or they might feel kind of lost in the woods when you're
Hmm.
newly starting a practice. So I think this is really valuable, and thank you for sharing all that.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just to kind of wrap up, just a key takeaway in summary, if there's something that you could tell a new dentist just graduating dental school, something you could share, some bit of wisdom, something you could leave the takeaway for somebody.
Um, I would say if you're just new in practice, find a good marketer. I want to recommend Adam, by the way,
Well,
in case
thank
you're
you.
wondering.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Okay, bye.